Meanwhile, whilst that conversation was happening up on the observatorium, Edema heading through the corridors of the Lance of Penance, you arrive to the apothecarium and enter into the now empty med slab area for light triage and head towards the intensive care unit where Barbas is still being attended to by apothecaries and medicae servitors.
He has a door, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I will knock on the door. Barbas, may I?
Will my answer affect the outcome anyway, Brother Dima?
That is up for debate.
Very well, let us get this over with.
Dima will slide the door open nicely and enter.
Barbas is sat up in a out of armor with his banner tabard nearby, but not wearing. He is essentially naked bar a small medical loincloth, and he is just absolutely covered in sort of sensory equipment, and there is essentially a medical servitor tending to his stomach constantly, where a now calcified, horrific kind of burn the size of your fist is from where the melter punched through his guts.
You really served the Emperor well that day, didn't you?
Yeah, he just kind of motions for him to come sit somewhere.
Dima will do so, and ask, how are you feeling? I know you of the Herald's Devout aren't too fond of the concept you are now living.
He kind of puts his bionic hand up, flexing the robotic pistons as he looks it over. And he doesn't look back up to you, but after a hearty pause says, "It is a mark of shame, brother. One that will constantly remind me of my failures that day."
Why is it you of your chapter think of bionics this way? Or any artificial extension?
To be honest, I am unsure how other chapters can stand these aberrations. Our enhanced physiology is a gift from the Emperor. To attempt to replace it with metal, creations of man, it is unbecoming of us. It is a mark of failure to not preserve this gift we have been so graciously given, one that should not be repeated.
I see your point. But in the same light, are these not creations of man, creations of the Emperor, in that same reflection?
They are not. Their technology stems from the mechanicum of Mars. It is a far cry from what is fitting, but not something I will speak upon further.
Do you not think on the fact you have been given it for a reason, a purpose, to serve your squad and the Deathwatch as a whole?
It is a means to an end, brother. Our duty is death. This is merely a tool by which I can get to it. I have failed once. More will come.
But you view it as negative. You view it as some form of infringement on yourself. But does it not stand to serve us and our holy purpose just as you do yourself? Is it not just another extension of yourself as the previous hand was?
To honor yourself, Brother Dima, you could never begin to understand what it means to have replaced yourself, your very being, with something else. But enough on the matter. Theological debates can be saved for when I am well. And as you can see, he kind of motions towards the huge fucking mar in his stomach. I still need more time to recover.
Yes, as that may be. I would like to add on that debate you mentioned. While not physically, I cannot relate, true. But internally, I have felt myself being replaced. Just as you have felt physically now, if not more, if not less. I know what it is to have something not yourself take over. I know the feelings and the inner turmoil you must feel with this, what feels like a parasite, upon yourself now. And how you must want nothing more than to rid yourself of it.
Upon saying that, Barbas's face kind of drops a little. I'm quite unsure what you mean, brother. I would hope your control is enough that you do not feel yourself being influenced by the ruinous powers. Those amongst us gifted with our Golden Lord's greatest curse should take such a death sentence with a bit more care, I would hope.
I see your worry, brother, but I do not refer to my powers. To my channeling of the warp, that is not what I refer to now, but something else. For as you would say, a later time, as I gesture to the hordes of medical equipment. But I will say, do not detest your arm for weakness, brother, but let it be an extension of yourself. Let it be your strength as we are together. Do not let it weigh you down, as perhaps you might have seen me in a certain light. But the squad would be besides itself without its righteous spearhead. As much as I don't want to give you that much credit. And he'll give a sort of a slight smile upon that.
Though I understand where you're coming from, brother, I am sure this roadblock has plenty more to give. However, on that note, the squad needs more than just a spearhead at this moment in time. We are divided as it stands. We are ill-tempered. Shattered, no, that's not the word. We are cracked, on the brink of shattering. Something must be done before we give, as I'm sure you are more aware than others. Don't forget, your run-in with Garthiel after killing those Kut has been noted. Your display was unbecoming of an Astartes.
It was not my finest, no. But run-ins with Garfield are that of the Xenos themselves with the Deathwatch. They are inevitable, given their nature. But in terms of us being fragmented and cracked, I will say, for the sake of the squad, let us not be the biggest one in the squad, yes? And he'll offer out his hand for a shake.
Which hand did you hold out, left or right?
He'll offer out the real hand, to your actual hand.
And Barbus will accept it.
Firm shake.
To our reforging, brother.
Yes, quite.
Now away with you.
Let us carry this on when you are out of the infirmary. Rest easy, brother. And he'll sort of turn away and walk away and close the door as nicely as he came in from.
So meanwhile, in the fighting pits of the Lance of Penance, Garfield is continuing to tear his way through hordes of combat servitors as he continues to practice his horde assault doctrine. When suddenly, storming into the practice cages, comes Sala.
As the door flies open, Sala marches through, and the entire hall echoes with the sound of just Sala shouting, "Garthiel!" As Sala is marching towards Garthiel, Garthiel sees and hears something. What he sees is Sala unhooking the sheath of Ignis Renatus and chucking the blade in its sheath just onto the ground, just randomly in the doorway. And as he marches towards Garthiel, he says, "Brother, the watch captain says you are a broken thing, a splinter from a broken chapter. He speaks of pity, but how can I pity a blade that's so strong?" And as he finishes that last word, he's within arm's reach of Garthiel and throws a right hook.
As you were sort of charging in and shouting, Garthiel was hurtling himself towards hordes and hordes of servitors, his rage sort of empowering him through while he attempts to be on the knife's edge that either leads to success or damnation. And as you sort of jump down, shouting at him to throw a punch, he will attempt to block it with his wooden, oh not wooden blade, what sort of...
If you're fighting combat servitors, you would be fully armed with chainswords.
With my chainsword. Garthiel, in the split second, he spins round, your fist heading towards him, as he just knocks your hand away, sparks flying, as he just looks at you, his contempt screaming through his helmet. "What are you doing, cousin?"
Alarms blare as a unauthorized opening of the fighting pit has just happened. and the combat servitors within the fighting pit deactivate and return to their holding chapels.
You dare interrupt me! Garthiel will then attempt to headbutt Sala.
As Garthiel's head comes launching forwards at Sala, Sala uncharacteristically and very ungracefully dodges out the way by merely sidestepping, and as he does, his shoulder throws itself back with his entire right arm going with it. Very, very much almost like he almost could have very easily missed this dodge had he not been in Astartes. And with his right arm going back, he's going to immediately come back in and attempt another punch. And as his hand is once again flying towards Garthiel, he shouts, "If your mind matched your strength, you would be a blade without flaw!" And then his fist comes back in.
As Sala's fist goes once again towards Garthiel. Man, I'm not used to saying it that way round. Garthiel will just sort of throw down his weapons. Are you in power armor too?
Yeah. We're both power armored, no weapons.
Sala is unhelmed though.
As Garthiel will throw down his weapons. Well, then let me show your head to the floor, Sala. Yes, as Garthiel just gets down in his wrangling stance. He's done this plenty of times on his homeworld. His brothers in arms, other Grim Wardens, have fought him to standstills before. Sala's no match. As Garthiel swings a flurry of blows, each hitting with powerful thud, as Sala attempts to dodge some.
He successfully evades one of them.
The flurry of blows swing past, Sala dodging one, weaving between a few of Garthiel's blows, while the rest connect, pushing him back. As Garthiel's fists, empowered by rage and power armor, just crunches into Sala.
So the first punch connects, and Sala's knocked back an inch. The second punch connects, and he's knocked back even further this time. And as his body moves backwards, he screams at Garthiel once more. "I feel hatred in my veins, Garthiel. I feel the bite of violence in my heart. Is this the storm that rages in you always? Is this what it means to be a broken thing?" And then Sala immediately comes back in and actually he attempts to grapple Garthiel. He's not even thinking properly enough to throw punches now.
As you finish shouting back and begin charging in, Garthiel will shout, "Now you're speaking like a Grim Warden!"
Almost like a bull, Sala charges forward at Garthiel, head leant forwards, just very low in a stance that is almost alien to him, but he's not thinking properly. He's entirely overcome with rage, something that is entirely anathema, not just to Sala, but his chapter as a whole, as he stretches both arms out and runs into Garthiel and misses entirely as Garthiel sidesteps him like a mastador with a bull.
As Sala charges past, Garthiel sidesteps, using his leg just kick Sala in the back of the knees, bringing him down. As in a swift movement, Garthiel grabs Sala by the neck, grabbing one of his arms and throwing him to the floor, pinning him with his knee on his back. "The neophytes of my chapter fight better than you, Sala. Yield!"
As Sala's on his back, is he on his back or is he face down?
Face down. As you fall onto the ground, Garthiel, keeping his promise from earlier, just punches you in the back of the head so your forehead hits the ground.
As Sala's pinned to the floor, he struggles helplessly in a futile bid to get up, and as after a couple of seconds his flailing turns into heavy breathing, turns into a ceasing of motion, and eventually he just takes one fist and smashes the ground in front of him, as it's the only thing he can really reach for. And as a level of quiet settles over the two of them, with nothing but the faded alarm blaring in the background,
Say it! Admit defeat!
Sala says, I yield, Garthiel.
Louder!
I yield!
Good.
Garthiel steps off him, making sure to stand on him to stand up himself.
As Sala holds up in an instant of surprise, he actually wraps both of his arms around Garthiel. Not in any kind of aggressive motion. He applies no pressure. I'm assuming Garthiel is probably for a split second has to take note of the fact that he's not in danger because it's quite
Garthiel begins preparations to flip you, assuming a tackle, before realizing this is more sincere.
What is this?
And as Sala's chin sort of rests upon Garthiel's shoulder, he says, Beneath it all, brother, I know there is something in you I wish I had. A strength like tempered steel. Beneath it all, you have my respect. But I see too much wasted edge, too much strength cast to the wind. You could be the finest among us, brother.
I am the finest amongst you.
Garthiel will take his helmet off to reveal a shit-eating grin, before pushing Sala off him.
What is this even about, Sala? You don't usually come in crying.
In response to the two things that Garthiel's just said, Sala's just kind of going to look at him and cringe. Sala's face is just going to show visible cringe as he looks at Garthiel, and he's just going to walk away.
I can teach you better moves next time, Sala. Feel free to contact me anytime.
Sala just completely ignores him and just leaves.
Some time has passed since the incident in the fighting pits, and August, you are heading towards the apothecary to check in on Barbas and discuss some stuff with him. Barbas has been moved at this point, as he is no longer under immediate danger of death, but he is still very much needing intensive care, but he has been moved out of private observation and is now kind of more in a general area of the apothecarium, so no longer a private room, so he cannot deny people at the door.
How fare you, Barbas?
I have been better.
Of course.
August is going to look him up and down. Is the augmetic hand exposed?
Yeah, it would be. The flesh around it looks extremely irritated. It very much has that look of fresh augmetic.
Ugh, it is horrid, isn't it?
What is it you need, August? My time is best spent resting.
There are two things, brother.
Make it quick.
The first is that I must ask your forgiveness. During our last errant mission, I left to assist Garthiel. He's put himself in a spot, and seems he didn't really need it. I should have stayed, brother. None of this might have happened.
You ask for forgiveness, which is something I cannot give. It was out of your control what happened.
Regardless, it does pain me in a way to see you blame yourself.
I blame myself, for there is no one else to blame. You were not in that building, August. Do not take the weight of my shame for yourself, for it is not yours to bear.
And yes, I will.
Then you weigh yourself down unnecessarily. It will not bode well for the rest of the squad, and I advise highly against it. It is not your hand that was lost facing the enemy. It was mine. And let us leave it at that.
So be it. The other matter, which you may be more willing to discuss, is you and Garthiel. You seem to have a rapport of some kind. Yet you're both very different. How is it that the two of you don't butt heads more often?
Garthiel is an interesting specimen. The unique situation of his chapter is most dire. To see that many of his angels condemned to such a fate as that of the Grim Wardens is unenviable at best. Garthiel is brash. He is outlandish. He cannot contain his emotions. But these are all liberties that must be taken, for he has not the time warranted to him to learn these things.
So I hear. So what is it, brother? You have patience for him?
I assume you are not aware, then, of the grim curse.
No, I am aware.
Very well.
But I ask, how do you cope dealing with him? And how is it that he likes you?
I am not Garthiel, so I cannot speak on his behalf. One might put it down to respect from one hunter to another, I believe would be the most apt way of putting it. But no, Garthiel is a damn fine weapon, if anything. He simply needs to be tempered, forged, directed. It is something I intend to see to myself once I'm rid of this slab. As he kind of motions to the hospital bed he's stuck on.
In truth, brother, it seems each of us in the squad intends to mold him and shape him ourselves. Perhaps it is because we're all pushing in a different direction that he isn't getting it.
Then maybe Garthiel will present a united front. Something the squad can agree on. It would be a nice change of pace, considering the, quite frankly, embarrassing performance on Planet Side.
I've seen worse missions. We were lucky.
Have you ever heard the phrase, comparison is the death of progress? Each individual failure should be weighed against only yourself and your own capabilities. For once you compare them to one another, they lose their value, and thus the shame that comes with. For if I were to forget why I carry my banner into battle every time I do, it would lose its meaning.
It baffles me how someone so philosophical could gun down a loyal man of the Imperium.
I'm unsure what you mean.
It doesn't matter. We will have to talk again.
If you are referring to the time I hastily dispatched the Emperor's justice upon that civilian, though I may have been rash in my judgment, he was forfeit, much like that planet. It is within my remit to dispense it as I see fit, for we are his angels. That attitude of yours, that comes from your chapter, some might see it as a weakness, but I would not dare say as such. It is simply an errant way of thinking, one that I could never fathom.
Errant. My, you may be onto something, brother. I will leave you in peace.
That will be much appreciated.
But we will talk again, brother. For the sake of the squad.
I would hope so. I will see you soon.
Meanwhile, as Garthiel heads down to the fighting pits, in his usual cage, instead of the servitors, instead of his usual combat drills, stands Watch Captain Varvarus, fully armoured in battle plate, his hammer resting on the ground, his hands on the pommel. Garthiel?
Brother Captain, are we here for a rematch?
Yes, of a sort.
Well, I've been looking forward to this.
He's gonna raise a hand as you enter and sort of get ready.
Is that like a hand to stop, or?
Yeah, as like as soon as you are in and like you're taking up combat position, he raises a hand to stop.
What is the matter, Brother Captain?
What are you, Garthiel?
I'm a sword, Brother Captain. Swift, precise, deadly. A sword that leads a team to victory. A sword that listens to its wielder.
As has answered every Grim Warden I have ever known. As has answered every Grim Warden I have watched die in glory.
Garthiel sort of holds his head up high in pride of his chapter.
As has answered every Grim Warden I have seen lead a kill team to destruction and failure in the Emperor's name.
Garthiel just sort of gets more tense.
Tell me, Garthiel, have you led your kill team?
They do not permit it. They do not let me be the squad lead. For some reason, they do not trust me.
For some reason?
Indeed.
For some reason. You have no inkling of why that might be.
I have spoken to Constantinos. He told me I was a sword, as I just described. The others do not see that. All they see is a brute. I have more to offer, but they are not willing to take a chance.
They do not trust you. They do not respect you. because you have offered them no respect.
But I have, truly, since our last conversation. I have followed squad lead's orders, no matter what, no matter how incorrect or correct they are. I've done as you asked, I've done as they have asked, and I've got no respect in return. So why am I to respect them? You have seen it.
The crux of the issue. Both sides screaming at the other for obedience, for respect, for adherence. This is not the way of the Deathwatch. This is not how you will succeed.
Is respect not the minimum requirement for success?
There can be no respect without compromise. When have you compromised your behaviors, Garthio? When will you accept you are not with the Grim Wardens anymore?
Why should I leave my chapter's culture behind when they do not do the same? Why must I make
Because
myself
someone must be the first
the first to what? Lose their identity?
to become stronger. You believe that by adapting, by changing, you will lose what makes you strong. No, you will become stronger. The Grim Warden's fighting style. Twin blades, fast, furious, a flurry of blades. Weak.
Weak?
Attack me, Garthiel.
Garthiel will sort of look furious and will sort of... He would grasp onto his weapons even tighter, sort of get in his stance.
Prepare, Watch Captain.
The Watch Captain does not take up even a remote defensive stance. He's just stood there still, his hands resting on his hammer's pommel, the head on the floor.
As Garthiel gets in his head, rage building up, as he charges forward, blades raffle and spinning as he goes in for a strike.
Your blades immediately connect with the Watch Captain and pass through.
What is this sorcery?
As the image of the Watch Captain disappears and a shimmer of electricity appears from behind you, as the Watch Captain, who was standing about 5 meters cloaked away from the mirror projection, points a melter pistol at your head. And you are dead.
Garthiel just sort of looks at the Watch Captain.
You truly believe that could fell me?
Garthiel, this could destroy a Land Raider. What are you talking about?
The brutal honesty of that snaps him out his rage.
Apologies, Watch Captain.
The Grim Curse.
What of it?
It weighs heavy on you.
It weighs heavy on all of us, Watch Captain. It is truly a gift.
Gift. The Watch Captain lowers his pistol, holstering it.
Yes, a gift. Granted to us by the Emperor, so we may use our rage to fell his enemies.
While I have some opinions on that I would discuss with you later, do you not see the flaws in your chapter's doctrine? Do you not see the flaws in your fighting style? You lost this battle.
Garthiel just sort of ponders those words. He doesn't usually ponder anyone else's words, but the Watch Captain is a direct superior who has beaten him to a pulp in the past and has just beaten him. Despite the underhanded tactics, Garthiel still recognizes it as impressive.
Our weaknesses.
Your weaknesses can become even greater strengths when paired with the knowledge of other chapters, Garthiel. I myself, he sort of gestures at this cloak around him. I learned this from serving with a Raven Guard, and employed my own Promethean doctrine of holding ground with a melter, and together have formed a far superior fighting method, one of many I can adapt to. Have you ever thought about incorporating Sala's agility, the way of his sword, with yours?
Gathel thinks.
His swordsmanship is weaker.
In some ways, it is stronger.
Explain. Or perhaps we should get Sally here again. Make sure he does not drop his blade this time.
That would not be wise. You have wounded him, and I have made it worse. He came to you as a brother, and you scorned him.
I beat him as I would with any other in my own chapter.
You are not in the Grim Wardens anymore. He is not a Grim Warden. Your brothers are not Grim Wardens. They do not know your culture because you have not told them of it. You have not even told them of the Grim Curse.
Garthil's sort of taken aback. He's never considered that he should tell others of the Grim Curse. Not out of some attempt to hide it, but out of just some sort of, he doesn't actually know why he didn't tell them.
A gift, you called it, Garthil. A gift should be shared. Is there no part of you, none that perhaps lashed out at your brothers over their own malignancies?
We, as a chapter, see it as a gift.
How do you see it, Garthil? How do you feel about the fact that you will be lucky to see 200?
I see it as an honor.
Death? An honor?
Indeed.
Death is failure. Death is defeat, Garthil.
It is how you die that determines the type of death you have. Honorable, dishonorable. If you fight in the Emperor's name, fight his enemies, it is honorable.
Why rush to the grave? Why always rush to the grave? Rush to a glorious death. I have served the Emperor for over 700 years, Garthil. I could not do that from a grave, and neither can you.
Garthil, he takes his helmet off and just sort of looks at the watch captain.
The watch captain will remove his helmet in kind.
A bit of sort of sadness in Garthil's eyes, a bit of humanity, the brutishness partially gone.
We Grim Wardens, we always have a clock. It's ticking down to our demise. Why should we hope for a long life, where we can make the most of it while we live, while our fury burns bright like the stars?
Because none before you have, Garthil.
And what gives you hope that I will?
Because someone has to be the first.
And you believe that I will be that first?
I believe someone has to be. I believe that someone has to be the first to compromise, to change. And who better than the first into the fray?
Garthil smiles. It's sort of emerging from the corner of his mouth.
I will take your words, Watch Captain. I will forge them into something you can recognize. I will be the first of the Grim Wardens to succeed, to live long, to enact the Emperor's fury. The centuries. You inspire me, and I hope to prove it. Prove that I can do this.
To undertake this task, you must do something no Grim Warden has done before.
What would that be?
Learn from your brothers. Study their strengths, their weaknesses. Mold them into your own. If no Grim Warden lives a long life, they would make for poor teachers on how to do so. You must meet them on their ground. The watch captain produces from under his belt a small glass container filled with soil, some seeds, some sand, and a few tools. And he sort of hands it to Garthil.
You expect me to weaponize this?
No, Garthil. I expect you to meet Sala on his own ground.
Garthil will look at the dirt in his hands.
How do I even start?
I am not the person you should be asking that question.
I will see it done, Watch Captain.
with that, Varus will take his leave of the fighting pits.
Will you not participate in one duel, at least?
When you are... Varus will look over his shoulder and he will just go, when your fighting style has no more weaknesses, then we will cross blades.
As the watch captain climbs out the fighting pits, Garthia looks down at the new items in his hands. Who knows what goes on in his head?
So, Constantinos, you head through the twisting and ancient corridors of the Lands of Penance, heading up towards the Librarium. The forces of Zalfron have few librarians, as it is rare enough that a sufficient enough psyker will pass the trials of the Adeptus Astartes, let alone distinguish themselves enough to be passed on to the vaunted ranks of the Deathwatch. What few librarians Zalfron has are within the Librarium at most times. However, I don't believe Dima spends much time in the Librarium.
He's an average amount.
Average amount. Okay.
He's alright. Yeah, he's chilling.
Yeah. Alright. So, you peruse through the books of the Librarium, and I'm going to need you to make me a Scholastic Law Adeptus Astartes. Okay, so you managed to find, actually, within the Librarium, a data slate of recent records mentioning the Silver Swords. Not only that, but you find a few books listing their deeds, as previously established from your knowledge of when you first encountered the massacre site of their third company on the fallen Orc world. You know these guys are expert Orc hunters, they mostly fight Orcs, and they are of Ultramarines gene stock. They believe in honor and upfront combat. They're very standard Astartes.
Is there anything specifically mentioning like the rebuilding of their third company and how that has been going?
That is a very recent event, so no. However, the recent report does in fact list the Silver Swords' 5th company as partaking within the Damocles Crusade. They are in active service alongside you.
Okay.
August is going to seek out Constantinos in the forge, wherever that is on this ship. It might take him a moment to find that.
If I may request, sir, can you roll me tracking?
I'd love to roll you tracking.
It does seem anywhere you would think Constantinos would be, it would either be like, hey, have you seen Constantinos here? Wow, that's really funny. He just left. It does seem like there's a little bit of a hint of the purposeful avoidance from Constantinos.
I think after the second occasion of this evasion, August would maybe give it a day and then directly vox Constantinos.
Brother, I'd like to speak to you in the forge. I have something to ask of you.
Brother Argus, what is the importance of this meeting?
It can be given time. It is not an immediate concern, but it would be good to speak to you, brother.
Constantinos, after like a moment of thought, realizes like if this is gonna be the thing, August obviously needs something. It's not like he can just avoid him forever, especially for his own personal like problems. It's gonna be something that has to be addressed, especially if something is required of him. Fine, brother. I will see to it that tomorrow I'll help you with whatever inquiries you may have.
I'll be glad of it, brother. I'll speak to you then.
Aye.
Another day of drills goes by, and you two meet in the forges after another grueling day of training to keep your Astartes' senses heightened and your bodies in peak condition. The forges of the Lance of Penance are sprawling and cramped. Lots of gantries, dark spaces, and bristling, towering furnaces. It's kind of like one giant sort of production line, but intervened at many points. It's a very thin forge, very thin manufactorum, built taller than it is wide.
Okay.
Where in the forge would August be able to find Constantinos?
He would most likely be watching the metallurgy of others temporarily, kind of like writing just some notes.
Maybe on one of the catwalks?
Yeah.
Overlooking a big vat of bubbling metals, as some poor serfs have to stir it with a stick, nearly passing out from the heat, but only surviving because they've got thermal dampening, like, bionics jammed into their spine.
Yeah, August would find you there, kind of taking up a position next to you, and also looking down into this big pot of bubbling metal.
Rather, you probably have an inkling of why I might have brought you here, and what I might need of you.
What is it? Just spit it out.
August will take his helmet off, and sweat does begin to bead his skin. He's Astartes, but there's an element to him that seems unnaturally delicate, and it doesn't look right at all.
Put simply, brother, my shield was annihilated by Commander Dihon in the last engagement.
There's like an audible sigh of relief. I have. If you are here to request if I make you a shield, I was thinking about making one of my own. There should be no problem in making a second.
There is another matter, brother.
And August puts a hand on your shoulder.
Like the autistic stare of why are you touching me?
August completely ignores it. Kind of looks you dead in the eyes.
What?
I'm not blind. I saw the fight you were in, the state you were left in after that engagement. You fought well, brother, as honorably as any of us, and it would mean a great deal to me if the first heraldry emblazoned upon that shield was this.
And he presses the coin that you gave him all that time ago into your chest.
Konstantinos is honestly like kind of taken aback. He doesn't really know like initially how to respawn. He's gonna of course immediately grab the coin. He's gonna be processing on how at first he's gonna put a coin in a shield before realizing he can just like engrave a spot for it to be held there. Aye, brother, it shall be done. As he'll give you like a pat in the shoulder like back as you kind of like place your hand on this. There's just gonna be a pat there.
Are you well, brother? You seem a little stilted.
The servo arm that Iron Warrior had done some minor brain damage. I should be fine. As Konstantinos will give like a half chuckle after that.
August returns with a smile.
Let's hope that's all, brother. All of our humors have been put out of order by this ordeal.
Yeah. I do feel Barbas feels some resentment towards me for that entire encounter. He did not want to see a word of me whenever I tried to go visit and help him. I wonder why.
Despite all his posturing, the man is sensitive.
That to be true.
By our standards. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I'm quite certain it's accurate.
His faith in the Emperor protects him, guides him, but it seems in moments whenever you can't really use that vigor, it's a little loss. But what do I know?
More than most.
So, Garthiel, you are heading through the Gothic ancient corridors of the Lance of Penance, heading towards the Reclusium, the chapel. The chapel on the Lance of Penance is, as established, a lot smaller than the one in Zalfron. There is only kind of this single large room dedicated to the God Emperor of Mankind, a large statue of the Emperor on the framed by the Imperial Aquila hangs over the room, staring down judgmentally at the petitioners and praying Astartes and serfs. Conducting prayers and rituals and men to the Reclusium is, of course, Chaplain Orla of the Firehawks.
As Garthiel enters the room, his footsteps heavy, he heads over towards the chaplain as he sort of gets on one knee as Garthiel looks towards Chaplain Orla.
Cousin Chaplain, I request your services.
The chaplain sort of turns to the two serfs that he's been directing, in the maintenance and spreading of incense within the Reclusium, and sort of holds them and turns, takes a few steps towards you, looks you up and down, his skull-faced helm, the lens plates gleaming out of its bone-white edifice. And he looks down at you and goes, Services, Brother Garthiel. We chaplains only give advice. How may I be of assistance?
Do you know my chapter's curse, Cousin Chaplain?
Yes. You are not the first Grim Warden to pass through the halls of Zalfron.
This makes it easier then. I wish to tell the stories, my stories, to our librarian in the future. However,
Garthiel sort of looks down a bit.
there was an incident last mission where I lost control. I request your services to check my soul.
As I'm sure you're well aware, there is little that can be done when a Grim Warden begins to lose themselves to the curse.
I just wish to know its status.
Very well. If you would kneel before the altar of the Emperor's wisdom, and he gestures towards a sort of mirrored reflecting pool held in a sort of stone basin carved in the likeness of like a monk, head bowed and hands up holding this mirrored basin of water.
Garthiel does just that, sort of clambering over before falling on his knees, hands clasped together, praying to the Emperor.
Please remove your helm.
Garthiel unleashes his face upon the chapel.
The chaplain dips their hands into the water and sort of raises it up and lets it fall down from between his fingers, sweeping his hands around in an arcing motion like the wings of a bird, and then begins to invoke some prayer in High Gothic, low and chanting and rumbling. A couple of serfs appearing behind him with incense bowls on chains, slowly swinging back and forth behind you, as the air begins to grow thick with the pungent scent of sacred unguents.
Garthiel sort of looks up and sort of interrupts these incense as he holds out his necklace.
Cousin Chaplain, please use this for the incense.
The chaplain very carefully takes the necklace off from around your neck, and you immediately feel a shudder of your body as your soul is kind of slightly detached from its anchor. He very carefully grabs a silver needle from a assisting serf, unstoppers the vial of water, dips the needle in, extracting a single drop, which he then lets fall into the incense before restoppering it and placing it back on your neck. Your body physically sighing with relief as your anchor is restored.
You have my thanks, Cousin Chaplain.
The chaplain just kind of gives you a very grim nod, and you get the sense that he's probably quite familiar with your death rites, because this isn't too far off. Returning the needle to the serf, the chaplain dips his hand in the water, letting the droplets run, and then strikes you across the face.
Garthiel recoils as if nothing has happened. His face still sort of blushed with the mark of the fist as he holds strong, sort of in prayer.
The chaplain examines your face, examines the water on his hand, and how many insanity points are you at, Ed?
I think it's like 6.
The chaplain goes, "Your soul is still strong, Garthiel. It would appear the incident on your mission looked far worse than it was. You have many years ahead of you for a Grim Warden."
Thank you, Cousin Chaplain.
Garthiel puts his helmet back on for standing up straight, giving the chaplain a nod and walking off.
Before you leave, actually, the chaplain reaches out a hand and goes, "Garthiel."
Garthiel stops and just sort of turns his head towards the chaplain.
The Deathwatch is given room for experimentation, you see. And, well, should you believe your soul is weakening, there is an experimental device myself and a few of the librarians have been working on, along with some Adeptus Mechanicus personnel. And should you feel your time is coming to an end, we would appreciate your assistance in testing the device.
It will be considered, cousin chaplain.
Bows his head. Thank you, brother. Emperor protect you.
Gathiel gives the chaplain a nod
The Emperor protects.
for walking back to the fighting pits once more.
Meanwhile, in the apothecarium, Barbus, the apothecaries have begun, specifically Chief Apothecary Furos, has begun personally tending to you on what he says are the orders of the watch captain to speed up your recovery to get you back into the field.
This does not bode well.
After a few days of this, the watch captain himself enters the apothecarium. Barbus,
How can I be of help to thee, watch captain?
by answering a few questions, Barbus,
Very well then.
and being honest with your opinions. Do not hold back on account of my rank. I am aware this is something that your chapter oft finds difficult.
If it is what you desire, watch captain, it will be done.
How do you believe Ignis is faring in the field? I want your honest assessment.
That is a tough question, watch captain, but not one I am ill prepared for. There are weak links within our squad, watch captain. Links that must be reinforced lest they snap. I believe you know which of these I will talk about first.
The watch captain nods and gestures for you to continue.
I have learnt of the Grim Wardens in my time amongst the Watch, and I had expected there to be difficulties. But to call Garthiel a difficulty is quite the understatement, as I'm sure you are aware. His aggressive nature has been more often a sticking point than a boon to the squad in times, as I'm sure you're well aware from last mission when he raised hands against our Psyker. Over. A small matter as a Krudox.
There is no love lost between the Grim Wardens and Psykers in general. They have a hatred for them baked into their very core. But still, it was an unacceptable lack of discipline on a mission, and Garthiel has been corrected.
On that much we can agree. Outside of this specific incident, his aggressive nature tends itself to solo operations, shall we say. He is less a cog in a machine and more an errant part that should either be replaced or hammered back into shape.
There is no replacement part. This is the Deathwatch, Barbus. We get what we are given.
Which is why he must be hammered back into shape. Something I will try my best to achieve in the following weeks. Once this, and he kind of flexes mechanical hand. Once I am ready to leave this apothecarian because of this item, I will attempt to rectify the issues in this squad, so we do not have any repeat incidents, as you would put it.
And the other weaknesses you see in the squad?
Our apothecary, August Telu. I was not aware of the doctrine, if you could call it that, of their chapter. But quite frankly, it is a weakness. One that is unbefitting from Astartes.
His compassion.
Yes, we are weapons, not caretakers. It is not our position to care about how these mortals operate. It is to use them to their best effectiveness, to destroy our enemies, nothing more.
A weapon that does not think, Barbus, is merely Garthiel. A weapon that does think is no longer a weapon, and you yourself have said that Garthiel is a weakness within your squad.
As much as I would say to his face, but given my current condition, it is not possible.
Barbus, your philosophy is contradicting itself. You are either a weapon, or you are a man. A man has compassion. A weapon has fury. And naught else.
While I understand your position, Watch Captain, it is deeper than this. Garthiel is an effective weapon, but one that often acts outside what the group should be doing.
The watch captain is going to sort of sigh and take a seat next to you on a neighboring medical bed. Barbus, what this comes down to is the philosophy of your chapter and the philosophy it has drilled into you.
I am well aware of the shortcomings of my own chapter's doctrine, especially when placed in an environment with such conflicting ideologies as these. I have tried my best to put them aside, but to be honest with you, Watch Captain, I am unsure how these chapters ever operate outside of certain theaters at this point. It is alien to me.
Odd choice of words.
It is difficult to voice to one not initiated.
I know more of the Sons of Caliban than you could possibly imagine.
As I am well aware, Watch Captain.
No, you are not. When I was younger, I knew Dark Angel.
Watch Captain, if I may. There are some secrets amongst the Sons of Caliban that are not my place to know.
He looks at you and nods. Do not think me that foolish, boy.
You are an enigma to me, Watch Captain. I am never sure what to expect, especially amongst the Watch.
As should be expected. Now, when I was younger, I knew a warrior of the Dark Angels, much like yourself. Stoic, peerless swordsman, but flawed, too close-minded, too closed off. He lacked the greatest strength of the Imperium. He lacked the greatest strength of the Deathwatch. Do you know what the true strength of the Imperium of Man is, Barbas?
That is a difficult question, Watch Captain, and I am quite unsure there is one set answer for such a question.
There is, I assure you. Though, it could be argued it is a bit of a cop-out. Diversity, difference, the bubbling cauldron that is humanity's experience. The fact we hail from 1,000,000 different worlds, orbiting 1,000,000 different stars, hammered upon different anvils of gravity and evolution, forged into warriors beyond the comprehension of any other, thrust together on the edge of a blade and forged in the fires of battle. That is the greatest strength of the Deathwatch, Barbas. From it, we gain the adaptability of the Ultramarines, the stoicism of the Heralds Devout, the ferocity of the Grim Wardens, the sly cunning of the Knights of the Blanche Hollow. Do you understand, Barbas?
I am well aware of this, Watch Captain, though I feel this conversation was talking about weaknesses, and yet I believe you think I may be one of them.
I believe that when a blade is broken, no blame should be placed on any one shard. A blade can only be reforged when every piece is hammered back into shape.
I believe it is worth noting, Watch Captain, it is not only August and Garthiel that have caused issues for this squad. Multiple of us are to blame. Myself, partially included in that issue, but this is all an issue that can be rectified with time, as this is what the God Emperor wills for us, Watch Captain. It is by his design that this squad will be reforged, and it is by his will that we will be guided to the heart of our enemies, stronger than ever.
This squad cannot be reforged without compromise, Barbas. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to meet your brothers on good ground and good faith on their ground?
So long as they are willing to extend the same to me, it will be done, Watch Captain, for the better of the squad. It is a double-edged sword, if you will.
Yes. You will have little time to remedy these divisions. But I want you to know something, Barbas. What you did on that world fallen to the orcs, with how you saved that child, that is something I have rarely seen from those of your blood. There is more to you, Barbas Danasi, than a mere herald devout. There is compassion within you. If you believe I have reached this rank, this level of prestige, he seems to almost spit the word, via faith, you are wrong. Compassion is what has always driven my rage. Compassion is what fuels my strength. I appreciate the teachings of your chapter. They are strong, and they have made you loyal warriors of the God Emperor. You realize that's the first time you ever heard him refer to the Emperor as a god.
Kind of furrows his brow at that a little bit.
And so, I ask that you meet me on my ground. Extend compassion to mortals. They are what you are fighting for.
At saying it's what you're fighting for, he kind of glances over at his banner, folded neatly on the table? Yeah, I'm guessing it's like a bedside table.
Yeah.
Kind of cringes a little bit at the thought.
It will be done, Watch Captain.
The Watch Captain stands up, places a hand on your shoulder, looks towards your tabard. I've read the reports, Barbas. I know why you're here. Do not blame yourself. Your failures will only prove to make you stronger in the end. He taps your bionic hand. This is a lesson that will make you strong, not a mark of shame.
Kind of blank faces it a little bit. Goes a bit deadpan.
The Watch Captain nods and begins to walk away.
Once good old Varvas is out to be earshot, Barbas kind of mutters to himself.
This is to be decided, I believe.
If you will not pick up this cup, Sala, I shall find another who will. Too much depends on too few for failure now.
Hey, Varvas here, coming at you from the void once again. Thanks for watching, make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to share your favourite moment from this episode in the comments, or on the Discord. As always, a massive thank you to the patrons. Scrolling past me are the current patrons, without who I wouldn't be able to make this show. As you might have noticed, the show is going through a few changes at the moment. I'm experimenting a little bit to see what works, so please let me know what you like, what you'd like to see come back in the comments down below. Your feedback is always of the utmost importance to me. If you'd like to support the channel but can't afford to donate monthly, I do have a Ko-fi for one-off donations. And obviously, if you can't afford to support at all, watching and sharing the series and being a part of the community is more than enough. I also stream on Twitch Tuesdays at 6 PM GMT/BST. It's a great way to interact with, me personally and see a bit more of what I'm like. Also, occasionally on Fridays, we have community campaign streams. If you've seen the Forces of Zalfaron videos on this channel, they're gotten from members of the community playing on stream with me on Friday, all as a part of the community campaign. So yeah, the community campaign is on our Discord, so make sure you join the Discord to participate in that. So you too can play Deathwatch, and don't worry if you're new, there's lots of nice people to teach you how to play. We even have training missions for people with no TTRPG experience or Deathwatch experience at all. Links to everything mentioned are down in the description below, and until next time,
suffer not the alien to live.